All right, families, thank you for joining us this evening. Looking forward to sharing some details about this year's Bagby 5th grade science camp, which we have scheduled for November 2nd through November 5th, just under a month away. Joining me this evening, we're gonna have representatives from both our Bagby staff, Camp Campbell, Camp Director, Nicholas Wilford, and some members of our home and school club to jump on and hopefully clarify some questions about the protocols that will be in place, what a day in the experience of our Barracudas will be, what it will look like, and then also some details and responding to some questions that we received beforehand. So look forward to sharing questions with all of you, or sharing answers to your questions. Some of the questions that you've submitted ahead of time, we will certainly respond to during the course of the presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, if any of your questions are left unresolved, we will have an opportunity to do a quick question and answer session. Reminder, I am recording this evening in hopes of sharing out with the rest of our 5th grade families who weren't able to join live tonight. So just make sure that you are on mute throughout the presentation. And if you don't want your video to be on YouTube tomorrow, make sure that you shut it off until you're called upon. So thank you for being here this evening. So as I mentioned, our Bagby presenters who will be participating tonight, me, Michael Kretsch, principal here at Bagby. Miss Patty Rodriguez is joining us this evening, 5th grade teacher, Melissa Hammond, Miss Diaz, also 5th grade teacher, and Miss Nicole Parati, our 3rd through 5 5th grade SDC teacher. Joining us from Camp Campbell in a few minutes will be Nicholas Wilford, Senior Program Director at Camp Campbell. And then also we have Lisa Hildorfer and Jen Vox, our Home and School Club co-presidents, along with Kyla Medinger, our Home and School Scholarship Chair, who will be discussing scholarships with all of you families this evening. So in terms of options for participation, the traditional camp is going to be 4 days and 3-night camp. That was what most of the students who will be participating, that's what it will look like, the schedule will be. The second option is a day camp. Some families have reached out and said, is day camp an option? And it absolutely is an option. If you are interested in bringing your child up to Camp Campbell off of Highway 9 in Boulder Creek on a daily basis, you're welcome to do so. Drop-off time will be during the breakfast period, which is 8 o'clock to 8:45 a.m. And pickup time will be between 6 and 6:45, which is the dinner time. The reason for it being in these designated windows is this is when students won't be participating in programming and will be at a central location so that staff, teachers and staff can easily support in getting them to your vehicles. Day campers are welcome to eat during the above times or be dropped off or picked up during those meals, but there is not going to be any prorated or adjusted cost for day campers. The final and third option is for students to remain back at Bagby during the 2nd through the 5th, and a combination of the 5th grade teachers or a substitute will be provided for those students who are not attending on those days. So before getting to camp, what are the protocols and procedures we're going to have here at site to support with a safe start and successful trip? So COVID-19 testing. So what we are requiring is proof of a negative test of a test given between Friday on the 29th of October and Monday, the 1st of November. So what we're actually going to be doing here at site is we will be offering optional testing at Bagby on Friday, the 29th of October, for all participating 5th graders who are going to the science camp. This will be free, and the results will be managed by Bagby staff. So we will staff will support in the conducting of the test. We will get it to the couriers who send it off to Color Labs, who do all the testing for the district. And then we anticipate results within 48 to 72 hours, hoping to have those results on the 1st, if not earlier. If you and your family elect not to participate in this optional testing for your child, you certainly can work with your healthcare providers, the county, Kaiser, whoever, and then submit documentation to the front office by the 1st of November. Just a reminder about the 1st of November, it is a in-service day for teachers. So it is the day after Halloween. Students will not actually be attending school on the 1st, but the office will be open and staff will be on site for professional development that day. So if you elect to have tests conducted on your own, you're welcome to come to the office and submit that documentation to us. During the busing to and from Camp Campbell, masks will be required while they're riding those bus as well. Nick, are you here? Nick emailed me just before the start of tonight's meeting and stated that he was dealing with a personnel issue up at camp, and so he might be running a few minutes late. We'll come back to Nick. Nick, if you are there, please raise your hand so I can turn it over to you. All right, doesn't appear that Nick is on yet, so what I'm actually going to do is we'll skip through the portion of his, and in fact, we'll shift over to our 5th grade teachers who've actually been to Camp Campbell before. I actually did not have the opportunity 2 years ago during my first year as principal here to actually make it up to Camp Campbell. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Diaz, Ms. Rodriguez, and Ms. Hammond to kind of share what families and students can kind of expect in terms of their experience at science camp. How can they get ready in terms of preparation? What are some of the highlights that kids typically walk away with, and anything else they'd like to share? So Ms. Rodriguez, Ms. Hammond, or Ms. Diaz, feel free to unmute yourself and share with their families.
Well, they have professional naturalists that work there, and they are people typically in their, I would say 20s and 30s and even older, and they live at the camp and they love nature and they love kids and they are just excited about teaching kids. I've always felt like the staff was great. And so kids are put into, I want to say nature groups, but I feel like there's a different name. Anyway, and they, and that's a co-ed group, although it will be just Bagby students. We won't be mixing with other schools, is what I've been told. And they go off and do hikes. They do activities around the camp. They do have some other activities like swimming. Swimming is an option. They don't have to swim. They can play board games on the pool deck if they don't want to swim. And they have archery and other really fun games. And then the cabins, they have, in the past, they've had high school students come and be the counselors. Sometimes the naturalists, though, that live and work at the camp, they are the counselors in the cabins.
Ms. Diaz or Ms. Hammond, is there anything about your kind of experiences that you'd like to add on to what Ms. Rodriguez has shared?
I think what's so cool about science camp is it's like a different type of school, and because we go at the time of year that we're going, it creates like such a cool community for the class, and like they get so much more bonded than if we were to like go later in the year. And I think it just, you know, they get to experience so many new things there. That's really cool for them.
Awesome.
Sometimes, are you guys able to hear me?
We are. Thanks, Ms. Hammond.
Okay. Sometimes parents wonder where the teachers are throughout this entire week. And so we get to rotate through the groups. And so some days we might decide to go on a hike with a group. Sometimes we might stay at camp and watch what the kids are doing either at the pool or just hang out with a group that's at the nature center. So it's kind of fun for us to be able to rotate and see the kids in a different light than we typically get to do in a classroom, and see them outside and in a different environment. So I love this time to be able to just see them enjoy being outside and getting dirty and just having fun with their friends in a different way than they typically would in the classroom or even just out in the playground. So in case you guys have questions about what teachers are doing, we are definitely around. The kids see us every day. And we also have rounds at night where we go check in with them and see how their day was if we weren't with their group. So the teachers go through and have rotations, just kind of saying goodnight, letting them know, you know, what the next day is going to kind of hold, give them some ideas of what's going to be going on. So that way it gives them a heads up. So just let me know if there's questions about kind of what you're thinking in regard to us and what we're doing around camp.
Awesome. Thank you, all three of you. Nicholas, have you been able to join the call? All right. We'll hopefully be able to come back to Nick in a little bit. Home and School Club. So our Home and School Club co-presidents, Jen Box and Lisa Hildorfer, are here this evening to kind of talk about how Home and School Club kind of supports Science Camp. And Kyla Medinger also is here to talk about scholarships. So Lisa, Jen, and Kyla, take it away.
Thanks, Michael. I'm Jen, for those who don't know me. I'm one of the co-presidents with Lisa for the Home and School Club. And the ways that Home and School Club support the Science Camp each year is we cover the costs for the buses so that there's no charge for the buses for any of the families attending camp. And then in addition to that, we also provide scholarships to all of the families. We do some fundraising throughout the year in order to cover these scholarships, but the scholarships are also a line item within the annual budget. And so we have plenty of funds to offer to families who are in need. Requests for those can go through either your teacher or Michael. We want to respect the privacy of families who do need some support. And so the teachers and Michael keep your names confidential if you do come out or you do come reach out to them. And they submit the request to us for the total dollar amount of the fundraiser or for the scholarships needed. And then the Home and School Club can cover those costs. I can let Kyla, if you have anything you want to add about how that fundraising works.
Yeah, so throughout the year, because you guys are planning to go to Science Camp so early in the school year, we will be doing our fundraising throughout the school year to kind of backfill those funds that we're using to make sure that the kiddos get a chance to go to Science Camp. And really the whole portion of the scholarship chair, as well as Home and School Club, is really to make sure that every one of the students has an opportunity to go to Science Camp and not let the monetary portion of it be that blockade. Because Science Camp, I was listening to Ms. Rodriguez and Ms. Diaz about everything that they do in Science Camp. And as a former Science Camp counselor, as well as a student, it's a blast. Science Camp is just so much fun. And like they were saying, it really is a fantastic time for these fifth graders to really bond before they head off to big bad middle school, right? So don't let hardships come in the way of sending your kiddo to Science Camp. It's truly an amazing time. It's going to be the best 4 days of their school year, honestly. So, and that's just throughout the year, I'll be sending out things. We'll do a sports basement. Jennifer was very kind and showed me that Farm Fresh to You does some fundraising possibilities as well. So we'll be pushing those out in the next few weeks. So.
Awesome. Thank you to you three for all that you do and in support of getting all of our kids to Science Camp this year. Nicholas, are you on yet? All right. Well, I'll keep trying. I'm sure he promised me he's going to be here because I know that there's probably some questions that all of you parents have of the camp director. So again, the cost is $335 per student, just as both Jen and Kyla mentioned. Scholarships are available. We do not want your current finances at home to dictate whether or not your child can participate. We want all of our kids to participate if you are interested and they're interested as well. So please make sure that you're completing the camp registration and parent information packet. This was sent out earlier by our teachers a few weeks back. If you need additional copies, feel free to reach out to the front office. Mary Lynn has copies up here and we can get you another one. The payment is due by Monday, October 25th. Please make out those checks to the Cambrian School District, Bagby ASB, and then just write Science Camp along with the student's first and last name and teacher's room number in the memo, and then turn that check in to either the front office or the teacher. If you are requesting a scholarship, just like Jen mentioned, we want to make sure that we are respecting your privacy. So feel free just to email your child's teacher or me directly, reach out to me directly, and I will work with the Home and School Club about the number of scholarships that we're going to need and making sure that those funds are available for each of the families who've requested them. All right. right. Camp Campbell does have a website. You're more than welcome to go and check it out. It looks like a beautiful camp. I'm hoping to be able to get up to Boulder Creek this year with our students and actually be able to check it out firsthand. I think they're going to have a terrific opportunity up there. Let's move on to some of our questions. So earlier today, I sent out a reminder message about tonight's meeting and also included a Google form in which some people submitted some questions ahead of time. And I want to go through both Nicholas and my responses to those questions that we received. So how far ahead will we get bunk assignments? The plan as of right now is for on the 29th of October to share those out. And the, hold on one second. Will there be pre-trip testing? It will be required, as I mentioned earlier. It will be offered to Bagby families free on the 29th. So students will just be, as part of their day, will come up here with their classroom, be tested. We'll make sure that we get those tests to the courier and off to the color labs for processing over the weekend in hopes of having results in hand no later than Monday, November the 1st. How will students be grouped? Since testing is going to be required, students will be able to preference 1 to 4 students that they get to room with. And the 5th grade team will work on building the cabin groups off of those preferences. And we'll share those out with students and families on Friday the 29th. Questions for Camp Campbell staff. So how many kids sleep per cabin? Nicholas' response was, depends on the number of students attending, but averaging 8 to 10 per cabin. How many schools will be at camp at the same time that we are there? It looks like 3 schools, approximately 130 students from Bagby, McKinley, and Washington Open. How many kids will be in a bunk? Cabins have either 14 or 18 beds. Students will be instructed to spread throughout the cabin. And how many COVID cases does Camp Campbell have since restarting overnight camps? The answer is 0, which is great. If you as a family elect not to have your child spend the night, what time can you drop off and pick up? Drop off would be in that breakfast time, 8 to 8:45, and pick up would be between 6 and 6:45, the dinner time. Are students eating indoors or outdoors? They're eating indoors. The dining room hall fits 300 participants, so there will be plenty of space to spread out. Will the cost be the same if a student does not stay overnight? The answer is yes. Is the percentage of vaccinated camp employees known? Nicholas shared that all overnight staff, volunteers are either vaccinated or tested. And last but not least, what happens if it rains? Hopefully it rains sometime soon, but just not between November 2nd and November 5th. But even if it does, the program will continue to run. Nicholas, perfect timing. Thank you for joining us. Let me jump back to your slides so that you can share with the families some of the additional components of what Camp Campbell is all about. So take it away, Nick.
Yeah, sorry. I am so sorry, everyone. We've got program going right now. I was walking over to do my Zoom, and of course, something came up. But I appreciate you being a bit flexible and letting me join here a bit later. We always got to make sure the students who are on site are doing well. All right, diving in. The daily schedule. So the students will arrive on Tuesday and they'll go right into a orientation for the week, learning about camp and the expectations that we have while they are here. And then shortly after that, they're going to be divided up into their cabin groups, which in terms of COVID is really their cohort for their entire week. In past years, students might get mixed. That's not happened at all this year. So it's only students from your own school that will be in that cabin, in that cohort together for their entire week while they're here. And so that includes in the cabins, at meal times, during the activities during the day. They're always just together with their own cabin and their field group. And then we have lunch and then afternoon activities on Tuesday. And then the first night after dinner is campfire. So skits and songs and getting a lot of those first night energies out with all the students. And then Wednesday and Thursday both look pretty similar. So breakfast is at 8 o'clock. Cabins usually get up and some of the students shower before breakfast and some will shower before dinner a bit later in the day. breakfast, and then on one of the days they have what we call our in-camp day. So that's where they're going to be doing our garden, going to our habitat house where the animals are, going to the pool, maybe doing their river study on that day. That's all pretty centrally located on the property. On the other day, they'll do the picnic hike. And so that's where they'll actually pack a bag lunch for the day from the kitchen after breakfast. And they're out on the trail for the whole day, getting to explore the redwoods and the chaparral ecosystem, and having that adventure. The hike itself is about 2.5, almost 3 miles, but they take all day to do it because they're stopping for activities and games and the meals and everything, and lunch. And then in the afternoons, or I'd say around 4 o'clock actually on Wednesday and Thursday, they have what we call activity time. So that's where, as a group, they will have picked one of their more traditional camp activities. It could be the climbing wall or archery, arts and crafts. They do shelter building. And again, as a cohort, they'll do that activity, which is a little bit more fun focused for that bit right there after they've done all the learning all day long. And then at 5 o'clock, they have cabin time. So that's when they get to go back to their cabin. Students will shower, get ready for the evening before dinner. And then on Wednesday night, they have the night walk, which is getting to explore the nocturnal side of the ecosystem, if you will. And then on Thursday night, they have an activity called animal tracking, which is sort of like a live action game of Clue, where they'll be going around on property using logic to kind of figure out a whodunit scenario. And then come Friday, they pack up and they drop all their luggage off before breakfast. After that meal, they have their closing time with their field group, and then closing ceremony before they head back on the buses. So a couple of the highlighted items there. So there are the 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. At all of those meals, there is also gluten-free, vegetarian, vegan, and dairy-free options in case that's something that your student needs, as well as our facilities is completely nut-free because it's such a popular allergy. And then they do also have one snack throughout the day, usually like pretzels or dried fruit or something like that in the afternoon. Our health office is staffed 24 hours a day while the students are here. And it's primarily with our health supervisor, who is a registered nurse. We do have some EMTs who pick up shifts every once in a while as well. And so those are the folks who will be making sure students get all of their medications at the proper time, dealing with any upset stomachs or maybe a little scrape or whatever that might be, the basic first aid things as well. And then with the sleeping quarters and the cabins, so this fall, we're only booking ourselves at about 50% capacity. So we're much lower than we typically are in a week before COVID was. And so most cabins are about half full. And so we have cabins that sleep 14 and we have cabins that sleep 18. All of those have 2 private shower stalls and 2 private bathroom stalls in them. They've got electricity, they've got heat. All of the beds actually have their own little window that they're able to open for ventilation. And they also have little night lights at all the bunks as well. And then in the cabins overnight with the students is our volunteer cabin leaders. So those are typically high school or college age students who have volunteering for the week. So they show up on Monday and do a full day of training before the students arrive on Tuesday. And all overnight volunteers, and we do have some staff who sleep in cabins overnight, are all either vaccinated or they have to be tested right before their week is happening. And that kind of just leads into general COVID protocols. As I mentioned, the biggest thing is having that same cohort throughout the week, of the not mixing the students of other schools or even other groups. Students will be wearing masks as well, both indoors and outdoors. The exceptions to that would be while eating, sleeping, swimming. And then we've also adjusted a few of our programs to allow the students when they're outside to spread out to be able to take their masks off, because we know it's tough for anyone to wear a mask all day long. So some of our program activities when they're able to space out outdoors, they do take the masks off. And then also just in the dining hall, I know that was one of the questions. I'm not sure if you all got to it yet on that page there. So our dining hall fits about 300 people. But again, with us at like 50% capacity, we've got plenty of space. All the tables are spread out, and when they're sitting at their tables and eating, they have their masks off. But whenever a student gets up to move around, maybe to go get seconds or something for their table, they have to put their masks back on. So I know that was a lot of information, and I wasn't sure how far you got through the questions. I can jump in if you want and do a couple of
We
those.
actually, your timing could have been better, Nick, because we actually made it all the way to the end, and it was about to be the live question and answer session. So thank you for showing up when you did. I was able to kind of explain these questions. If you feel like you want to go into more detail about the Camp Campbell staff questions, that I read through your responses that you submitted earlier today, but if there's anything that you think that you'd like to elaborate on, feel free to.
No, I'd say let's go to the live questions. I'm sure there's very specific ones that you all have in mind. I'd love to address those too.
All right. So if you do have a question that you'd like answered that we haven't responded to this evening, please just raise your virtual Zoom hand. We'll call on you. Feel free to unmute, and then feel free to ask your question, and we'll do our best to respond. Daniel, go for it.
Two questions. The site, where is this Camp Campbell located at?
Yeah, we are about 3 miles north of Boulder Creek. So we're in the Santa Cruz Mountains, about maybe 20 to 30 minutes down Highway 9 from Saratoga.
Okay. All right. So where are we gonna be doing the drop-off every day? If we have to be day campus?
So then if your child's going to participate in the week-long camp, then you just drop her here off at school, and she'd be bused up there from Bagby and then brought back. If you're doing daily drop-offs, we'll make sure that the address is shared out. But Camp Campbell is a YMCA camp that you can easily Google, and it'll take you to the address right off of Highway 9 up in Boulder Creek.
Okay. Are there any activities beyond the pickup time?
Yeah, so if you're picking up your student at that like 6 o'clock time, that's right when dinner's happening. And then there would just be the evening activity, which runs from like 7:30 to 9. And then they're getting ready for bed, and lights out is at 9:30.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Looks like, I don't know who you are, but you got a nice purple background from my Minnesota Vikings. So go ahead and unmute yourself. Maybe it's a homage to Prince. All right, there you go.
Hi. Hi. Yeah, I had a question for the day campers who are gonna go all the week. Will they ride the bus on the first day and on the last day?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly can arrange that.
Thank you.
If you've already asked your question, if you wouldn't mind taking your hand off, just so we know that we've already answered. Daniel, if you wouldn't mind removing your hand. Go ahead. I recognize you as Yeva's father.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're Yeva and I and my wife, we are very excited for this opportunity. Just a couple of questions. So based on experience, how is the food like? And what I mean by this question, I mean, there are kids, they may someone will like some food and others will complain about other food? Like how is it typically? Shall we send with them some sandwiches or something just in case, or it's like covered? I don't know. Just
Yeah, I mean, I would say the food is very kid friendly. I mean, possibly if some of the teachers are on here when I chime in, I'm probably a bit biased with the food. But like yesterday's lunch was mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, and then they had like veggie nuggets and gluten-free mac and cheese available. Today's was panini pesto sandwiches and fries was lunch today. Waffles and sausage was breakfast today. So it is very kid friendly. I would say the majority of students have no problem finding food that they want to eat. In the mornings, we also have like cereal and oatmeal or yogurt available. And then we have a full salad bar at lunch and dinner. And then it's something that we talk about with the teachers who are on site is if we notice any student who's not eating, just to let us know. Our kitchen doesn't want anyone to go hungry, and we can always find something to make sure they eat.
okay.
And I'd like to add that the salad bar is really good because a lot of the vegetables are grown right there on site in their garden. So it's fun. I always go to the salad bar. I enjoy it. And I see kids with me. They'll come and we'll meet at the salad bar.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And if may I ask one more?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know from this document that phones and devices are restricted, and that's I understand why you're doing this, and I'm excited. I really appreciate that kids gonna have this non-technical, like human to human interaction. That's really amazing for me. And I read about this, like that we can use like a mail to communicate with them, like not email, like mail, like a snail mail. So that's cool. But like how and I know that they are being taken care of, but as a parent, the only thing that as a parent I would be care, like is my kid doing well, like how to check her out. That's it. I don't want to bother anyone or her or whatever. Wanna her be on her own, but just wanna from time to time wanna just make sure that everything is great, like she's doing fine. That's it.
Yeah, and that's something I say at most of these parent meetings is that it typically is harder for the parent than it is for the student during the week. So I definitely understand that. And I also like to share, like, not hearing from us, at least with the camp staff, is a good thing. We reach out if anything is going on. If the student's not feeling well, if there's behavioral stuff going on, we will reach out to you, definitely. And then I also know most of the times the teachers who are here are sending back updates to the school and being able to communicate that way. But yeah, you're right with it. The whole idea of unplugging for the week for the students is really important for their own experience. And so being able to send those letters, usually I tell people to send them the week beforehand. You can even send your student with like pre-stamped in envelopes, and then they can always send letters back. They might beat the letters back home, but it's always a good thing for them to be able to see as well. On our website, there is just the camp. We do have a main phone line. If you ever have something going on and you need to reach out, you can always give the camp a call. If there's an emergency or something like that.
Okay.
Also, we teachers will take letters that you have for your child the day that we're leaving. You could discreetly hand it to us, and I always put them in a bag. And then, and you could say, some parents kind of go a little crazy and they do multiple letters. And so at breakfast, I typically hand out, walk around and hand them out. So if you don't want to mail them ahead of time and just want to hand it to your child, to me or your child's teacher, that works too.
Thank you.
Also there's no food allowed. So don't send any food with your child. No candy, nothing.
Okay.
There's plenty for them to eat and me.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Arlette,
Hi. So I just have a quick question about the swimming. Is it a lake? Is it a river? Are they swimming in a pool? And are they wearing life jackets? That's the only thing that really makes me nervous.
Yeah, so it is in a pool. And we do have our lifeguards who are on duty, who are all certified and trained lifeguards. We do have a few life jackets that a student would be more than welcome to use, but we do also perform a swim check at the start of all the swim times. So if your student is confident in swimming, they're able to swim from one side to the other, then they're good to go. But if a student maybe isn't quite as confident with swimming, what we do is we partner them with one of the cabin leaders or the staff members. And so they're actually go swimming together in the pool where they have to stay within arm's reach of each other. And the area of the pool that they're swimming in, I believe only gets up to about 4.5 feet deep. So they're not swimming in a incredibly deep pool either.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
any other questions for Nicholas, myself, or our teachers or home and school club? Teresa.
Hi, I was just wondering, what is being done at the camp that ties to fifth grade science standards?
Yeah, I mean, really everything we're doing is tying back into those standards. The ecosystems, our naturalists are all trained in the NGSS. And so we're doing watershed, we're doing photosynthesis, plant life cycle, amphibians, reptiles. We're really hitting on all of those outdoor science standards that the school has.
Thank you.
And it's so great to be able to reference science camp throughout the year when we're doing our science program. Like, remember at science camp, the trees, and it's wonderful.
All right, any other questions? Again, feel free if you have additional questions in the upcoming days and weeks, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or one of your teachers. If you have a very specific question that I can't answer or they can't answer, I'm happy to put you in contact with Nick at Camp Campbell. I'm sure he'll be able to respond in a timely fashion. We want to make sure that all of you feel comfortable with this, as we trust that this is going to be an amazing experience for all of our fifth grade Barracudas. But we also want to make sure that everybody is safe and comfortable with parting ways and with your kids on November 2nd and welcome them back on November 5th. So thank you for your time. And again, feel free to reach out at any point in the future if you have remaining questions. Otherwise, have a good evening.